Hello, a very good afternoon to one and all. Aptitude is a very important aspect of a person's life. Quantitative aptitude that basically judges our analytical and problem solving skills. It refers to our unique abilities and also how well we are able to apply them to specific questions. With this, I, Pratibha, Assistant Professor, Department of Mathematics, would like to welcome all of you to the second webinar hosted by the Department of Mathematics on the topic Aptitude and Logical Reasoning. From our esteemed resource person, Mr. Fayaz, an aptitude trainer. Now, I request Dr. Ramananda HS, HOD of Department of Mathematics, to kindly welcome everyone.
Good afternoon. At the outset, I welcome all of you to this webinar on aptitude and logical reasoning. Let me introduce my college and the Department of Mathematics. St. Joseph Engineering College started in 2002. We have 6 branches of engineering: computer science, electrical and electronics, electronics and communication engineering, mechanical engineering, civil engineering, and artificial intelligence and machine learning. We also have postgraduate courses, MBA and MCA. PhD programs are offered by almost all the departments. Our college is accredited by National Board of Accreditation continuously from 2013. Department of Mathematics has 10 teaching staff having an average of 15 years of teaching experience. The faculty members are actively involved in teaching and research. The department has a VTU recognized research center. 2 guides and 3 research scholars are working in the research center. Mathematics department provides a strong foundation of mathematics to students of all branches of engineering. With this introduction about my college and my department, I welcome the resource person of this webinar, Mr. Fayaz. Welcome you, sir. I welcome all my department faculty members who are actively involved in organizing this webinar. Warm welcome to all participants who are eagerly waiting to learn to get trained in attitudes. Once again, I welcome you all and have a wonderful learning day.
Thank you, sir. We welcome you too. I am delighted to introduce today's resource person. Mr. Fayaz completed his MCA from Osmania University and have 9+ years of experience in the field of campus recruitment training. He is training engineering students at different colleges in various states. In his career of 9+ years, he successfully trained around 80,000 plus students. Currently, he is working as an aptitude trainer. He has got the strong training skills and special techniques for formulating ideas for getting ahead in competitive exams. He has the ability to analyze the problems and make the students understand in an easy format. He is specialized in the areas of arithmetic and also reasoning topics like percentage, profit and loss, time and distance, etc. He is a passionate trainer and with willingness to help students to clear their written test using some of his own shortcuts and methodologies to solve problems in a quick and faster ways. His recent time clients are Smart Steps Private Limited Hyderabad, Lara Technologies Bangalore, Jagrati Institute of Engineering and Technologies Hyderabad, Talent Sprint Hyderabad, Intel Engineering College Anantapur, KS School of Engineering and Management Bangalore, Global Academy of Technology, Bangalore, Sambram Institute of Technology, Bangalore, Raghu Engineering College, Vizag, Guru Nanak Group of Institutes, Hyderabad, SV College of Engineering, Chittoor, C.V. Raman Institute of Technology, Bhubaneswar, Aerosol Technologies, Hyderabad, JB Group of Institutions, Hyderabad. Once again, I would like to extend a warm welcome to you, sir. Dear participants, kindly note that your mics are muted by default. So for any queries and questions, please make use of chat box options or Q&A section. At the end of the session, a feedback link will be shared in the chat box. Feel free to give your opinion about the webinar. An e-certificate will be sent to you on submission of feedback form. If you have any difficulty or problem in filling feedback form, please revert us back. We will clarify it. Recorded session will be available in our YouTube channel, St. Joseph Engineering College, Omanjur, Mangalore. If you are using a mobile phone, please try to keep it in landscape and use earphones. Now I request our resource person to take over the session, sir. Over to you.
Thank you. Hello everyone, good afternoon. So today we are discussing about aptitude. As we all know, aptitude is a combination of three sectors, that is quantitative aptitude, logical reasoning, and verbal ability. So today in our session, we are going to discuss mainly about the first two modules, quantitative ability and logical reasoning. So we'll be taking important topics from these two areas and discussing useful tips based on the topic. So let's start with quantitative ability. I hope you all know the topics under this quantitative ability. Topics like time and work, time and distance, percentages, profit and loss, simple interest, compound interest, number system.
Sir, it's not visible. What you are writing is not visible.
Not visible. Shall I change the color?
Yes, sir.
And coming to reasoning, so topics like number series. Now, is this okay?
No, sir.
So we'll be taking time and work. First, we'll take one topic, time and work.
Yes, sir. Yes,
We'll
sir.
discuss about
Now it is visible, sir.
Okay.
Visible, visible. Let keep the same size, sir. Yeah.
Okay. So coming to time and work, mainly we can segregate into three types of problems here. So why I'm taking time and work for first time, first priority is nothing but the weightage for any kind of, competitive exam or written test is very high. So the number of questions we can expect here from this particular topic will be more than the other topics. So that's why let's take time and work first and we'll discuss the tips based on this particular topic. Now, time and work. Let me give you examples from this topic. The questions like A and B can complete a work in 20 days, 30 days. Then what is the time taken by A and B together? Or A, B, C, three different persons take 10, 15, 20 days to complete a particular task. Then what is the time taken by if all of them are working as a team? Or A and B started later, C also joined, or anyone might be leaving the work. So these are the different kind of questions. Let's see how we are going to solve those kind of questions. So time and work problems can be solved in two different methods. So one is one day work method, other one is LCM method. So let me explain what do you mean by these two. Suppose there are two persons, A and B. A takes 20 days, whereas B takes 30 days to finish a work. A takes 20 and B takes 30 days. Now, what is the time taken by A and B together is the question. So now this question can be solved in two different ways, two different methods. Let me explain the first method, one-day work method. What do you mean by that? So in one-day work method, what you need to decide is, you need to calculate the one-day part of the work A can complete or one-day work by B. Now, when A takes 20 days to finish a particular task, what is the work he can complete in one day? So in one day, he can finish 1/20th of the work. So 1/20 is the one-day work of A. In the same way, what is one-day work of B? It is 1/30. So here one-day work of A is 1/20 and one-day work of B is 1/30. But here we are expecting the work to be finished by A and B together. Since A and B are working together, here we need to calculate one-day work of A and B. So what is one-day work of A and B together? It is 1/20 plus 1/30. So it is nothing but LCM of 20 and 30 is 60. So simply it is 5/60, or simply it is equal to 1/12. So what do you mean by 1/12? What it indicates, 1/12 is nothing but A and B together can finish 1/12 of the work in one day. When they are able to finish 1/12 part of the work in one day, how many days they take to finish the total work? Simply 12 days. So this is how we can answer in the first method, which is nothing but one-day work method. So when you calculate one-day work of A and B together, the reciprocal of that particular fraction is nothing but the total time required by them. If I get 1/15, 15 days is the answer. If I get 1/18, 18 days is the answer. If I get 2/15, 15/2, that is 7 1/2, 7.5 days is the time. So it is first method. Let me explain the second method. Same question, how we can solve in the second method, which is nothing but LCM method or unit method. Let's see what do you mean by LCM method or unit method. So in this LCM or unit method, first of all, we need to calculate the total work. Whether it is finished by A or B or A and B together, we need to calculate the total work. How to calculate total work? So let's see. Since A takes 20 days and B takes 30 days, whatever the number of days given for A, B or C or A, any person here, take the LCM of those numbers. Okay. A 20, B 30. Now what is the LCM of 20 and 30? So it is nothing but 60. Now consider the 60 units as total work. So total work done by A or B or A and B together is nothing but 60 units. So now this is considered as total work. Now A takes 20 days to finish this 60 units of work. When A takes 20 days to finish 60 units, obviously he is able to finish 3 units per day. Now B requires 30 days to finish the same work. That means he is able to finish 2 units per day. Now A and B are able to finish 3 and 2 units per day respectively, but we are expecting here A and B together to finish the work. So when they are working together, obviously these two can finish 3 plus 2, 5 units per day. In one day they are able to finish 5 units, but the total work, as we decided, 60 units. Now to finish the total work, the number of days required by A and B together is nothing but, so the work to be finished is 60 and per day they are able to finish 5. So it is nothing but 12 days. Same answer we are getting. So these are the two different methods you can use to solve time and work questions. I suggest any of these two methods because it's up to you. Whatever the method you feel better, you can go by that. But my suggestion is, based on the question, you can decide the method. For me, for a particular type of question, the first method is suitable, and for some other kind of questions, I can use the second method. In coming problems, I'll let you know which method you can decide. So there are 3 different type of problems in time and work mainly. For the first, first model, or first part, you can use first method. For example, the questions like the previous one, A, B, 20 days, 30 days, what is the time taken by A and B together? Or A, B, C, so 10, 12, 15 days. A, B, C requires 10, 12, 15 days. Then what is the time taken by A, B, C all together? For these type of questions, you can use the first method, that is one day work method. So how to solve this question? Simply take one day work of A, one day work of B, one day work of C. That is nothing but 1 by 10, 1 by 12, and one day work 1 by 15. Simply one day work of A, B, C all together is 1 by 10 plus 1 by 12 plus 1 by 15, which will get you a fraction. The reciprocal of that is the total time required by A, B, C. Next. Suppose if there is a question like A and B required 10 days to finish a work. So here the work will be finished by A and B together in 10 days. For the same work, B and C together takes 12 days. And now C and A together require 15 days. So the information given here is A and B together 10 days, B and C together 12 days, C and A together 15 days. Now, what is the time taken by A, B, C all together? So previously the combination of A, B or B, C or C are working, but here I need all of them to finish the work. So A, B, C all together. What is the time taken by A, B, C all together? Now, when A and B require 10 days, what is the one day work of A and B? Obviously, A and B one day work is 1 by 10. Now, one day work of B and C is 1 by 12. The same way, one day work of C and A is 1 by 15. Now, if you look at these three equations, A and B, B and C, C and A, simply add these three equations, A plus B plus B plus C plus C plus A. It is nothing but 2A plus 2B plus 2C. So 2 times of A, 2 times of B plus 2 times of C. Now on the right side, when you add this, this is 1 by 10 plus 1 by 12 plus 1 by 15. Now when you take 2 common here, A plus B plus C, 2 times of ABC work. This indicates 2 times of ABC efficiency. Is nothing but LCM is obviously 60, so 6 times, 5 times, 4 times, so 10, 15 by 60 is 1 by 4. Now, if you look at this equation, 2 times of ABC is 1 by 4. If I take 2 that side, since it is not visible, I am writing here. Hope you are able to see this. So, from this, ABC will be 1 by 8. So, one day work of ABC altogether is 1 by 8. What it indicates? One day work of ABC is 1 by 8. From this, you can conclude that the time taken by ABC altogether will be 8 days. If they ask for ABC altogether, sometimes they will ask only A or only B or only C. If they ask for any particular person, either it is A or B or C, then how to calculate the time taken by any of them individually if they are working individually. Now, if I want only A, so keep A aside. Now, B plus C, what is one day work of B and C together? 1 by 12. So substitute in that. From this, you will get one day work of A, which will get you the time required by A. If they want B, substitute A plus C. If they want C, substitute A plus B. So in this way, you can substitute any of these combinations in order to find out the individual times required by A or B or C. So this is another question where we are using one day work method. Now, let me give you one more example. So these are, we can expect these models in any examination. So that's why I'm discussing those models. Now, let me take one more. For example, 4 boys or 8 girls require 10 days to finish a work. 4 boys or 8 girls require 10 days to finish a work. Now, my question is, what is the time taken by 2 boys and 2 girls? What is the time taken by 2 boys and 2 girls? If I take only 4 boys, it is 10 days. If I take only 8 girls, it is 10 days. But this time I am taking the combination of 2 boys and 2 girls. Then what is the time required by them? It is also in the same method we can solve, same one-day work method. So what do you understand from this? 4 boys required 10 days to finish the work. So when 4 boys required 10 days, what is the time required by 1 boy? I'm sure most of you are getting 10 by 4. So it is not 10 by 4 because the number of boys or number of men is inversely proportional to number of days. When number of men increases, number of days will be decreases. So obviously it is not 10 by 4, it is 10 into 4, 40 days. For 1 boy, it is 40 days. Now, 1 boy takes 40 days to finish the work. Then what is 1 day work of that boy? 1 by 40. Now it is 1 day work of a boy. In the same way, let's take a girl. There are 8 girls and they require 10 days to finish the work. Now 8 girls, 10 days means for a girl it is 80 days. Now what is 1 day work of a girl? It is 1 by 80. Now you have 1 day work of a boy and a girl. Substitute in the team given here. So the combination is 2 boys and 2 girls together. Now what is the 1 day work of a boy? It is 1 by 40 and you have 2 boys here. Plus for a girl it is 1 by 80 and you have 2 girls here. Now it is 1 by 20 plus 1 by 40. So LCM 40, 2 times plus 1, 3 by 40. So what is 3 by 40? 1 day work of this team is 3 by 40. So from this you can conclude that the time taken by this team to finish the work is 40 by 3. Reciprocal of this fraction. So 40 by 3. That means 13, 1 by 3 days to finish the work. So this is how you can calculate for any combination, 2 boys, 2 girls, or 1 by 3 girls, or whatever the combination they want, you can calculate for them. So here also we are using the concept of 1 day work. Sometimes the kind of question they ask will be different. Let me take that one also. For example, the combination will be 4 boys and 6 girls required 12 days. Now 2 boys and 5 girls required 18 days. Now what is the time taken by 3 boys and 2 girls? So the question is very clear. When we have a combination of 4 boys and 6 girls, it is 12 days. When we have 2 boys and 5 girls, it is 18 days. When we have 3 boys and 2 girls, what is the time required by them? So this is what they are asking. It is also similar to the previous models, calculating 1 day work, or indirectly, it is nothing but solving a linear equation, because these two forms linear equations. Like 4 boys and 6 girls take 12 days. From this, what we can conclude is 1 day work of this team, 4 boys plus 6 girls, 1 day work is 1 by 12. And here, 2 boys and 5 girls, it is 1 by 18. So when you solve these two equations, either you can cancel girls or boys. From that, you will get any of the remaining variable value. When you substitute here, you will get boys and girls 1 day work. Let's take those values and substitute here. So this is how you can calculate 1 day work of a boy and a girl, and you can substitute in the required combination. So this is how you can solve a 1 day work concept. Suppose if you want to go for the second method, so for which kind of questions we can use that? Let me take one example. There are 2 persons, P and Q. So the question is, P is twice as good as Q. P is twice as good as Q. P and Q together takes 12 days to finish that particular task. Now, what is the time taken by P alone? So let me explain the question once again. When P is twice as good as Q, so what do you mean by that? The efficiency of P is double than Q. So from that, what you can conclude is when Q required 10 days to finish a work, A required half of the time because our efficiency is double than Q. So whenever Q required 10 days, P required only 5 days, half of that, because the efficiency of P is double than Q. Now, P and Q together take 12 days. Now, what is the time taken by P alone? I'm sure most of you are getting answers like 6 or 24. Some combinations you are getting, I know. Still, let me explain the right answer for this one. So again, you can use the previous, method, first method, that is one day work method, or you can go for the second method, which is LCM or unit method. What I feel is second method is very simple here. Let me explain how it is. Now, A and B, the number of days are not given here, but we know that the efficiency of P is twice than Q. Suppose, let me take the same persons P and Q. Now, the efficiency of P is double than Q. What do you mean by that? If Q is able to finish 1 unit work in 1 day, P will finish 2 units in the same time, that is 1 day. So what do you understand from this assumption? P and Q are able to finish 2 and 1 unit in 1 day. Now, 1 day work of P is 2 units. 1 day work of Q is 1 unit. Now, what is the 1 day work of P and Q together? 2 plus 1, 3 units. So, simply they both together can finish 3 units in 1 day. But in the given information, they mentioned that 12 days required for them to finish the work. So every day they are able to finish 3 units and they are taking 12 days. So what is the total work here? Total work is nothing but 12 times of 3, because every day 3 units and they require 12 days. It is 36 units. So simply the total work is 36 units. Now, what is the question they are asking? What is the time taken by P alone? We know that total work is 36 units. And what is the capacity of P? 2 units per day. When he is able to finish 2 units per day and he has to finish 36 units, obviously he requires 36 by 2, that is 18 days to finish the work. Now, coming to Q, if they ask for what is the time taken by Q, simply 1 day per day, 1 unit per day and 36 units we are expecting. Obviously, it is 36 days. Sometimes, the combination of PQ or whatever it is, you can use the same logic. Like sometimes they'll give the efficiency of P is greater than Q by 40%, or P is 40% more efficient than Q. P and Q require 12 days. What is the time taken by P alone? So these type of questions, or instead of twice, next time they might ask for thrice. P is thrice as good as Q. P and Q together 12 days. What is the time taken by P alone? Or P is 40% more efficient than Q. So whenever they ask these type of questions, go for the same, assumption of unit for PQ or AB, whatever you have in the question. So let me explain for this example. P is 40% more efficient than Q. What you can assume is 100 units you can take for Q. Obviously, P should be 40% more than that. It has to be 140. Now, 140, 100, the numbers if you take and add, then the calculation will be difficult. That's why what you can do is take the ratio 7, 5. So now you can assume that P can complete 5 units in 1 day, Q can complete 5 units in 1 day, P 7 units in 1 day. So now you can use those two numbers 7 and 5 instead of 2 and 1. Same question, same process. Whether it is given in terms of percentage or it is given as a statement like twice, thrice, or sometimes it will be 2 by third, as a fraction. So the efficiency of P is 2 by third of Q. Then how to decide the unit for P and Q? The efficiency of P is 2 by third of Q. What you can do is simply take The denominator for the second person, take Q 3 units and P should be 2 units. That's as simple. Because when you take Q 3 units, 2 by third of Q should be P. So what is 2 by third of 3? 3 get cancelled and 2 is the remaining value for P. So this is how you can take numerator for the first person, denominator for the second person. So you can solve these type of questions in second method because the calculation part will be simple. It is not like you have to solve in the second method only. You can go for the first method also. It's up to you. Whatever you feel better, you can go by that. There is no restriction. It's up to you. Whatever the method you are getting easily, you can follow that. Now, there is another part of time and work what we can expect in most of the examination. That is, suppose there are 20 men and they required 12 days when they are working 5 hours a day. Okay, 20 men working 12 days, every day 5 hours, and they are able to finish 400. They are able to construct a wall of 400 meters length. Now the question is, if I take 30 men, for how many days they have to work if they spend 6 hours a day to construct 600 meters wall? The question is, I have a group of men here, 20 men, and they work for 12 days. Every day they spend 5 hours. They can construct 400 meters wall. Now I'm taking 30 men. Now the work assigned to them is constructing 600 meters wall. Every day they used to work 6 hours. Now what is the time taken by them? That is number of days we need to find out. If you observe this particular information or data, there are different variables like number of men, number of days, number of hours, and amount of work. So this is nothing but the combination of men, days, work, and hours. There is a formula which is called as chain rule, or simply instead of naming that, let me explain the formula, which is very simple one, and we can expect some questions based on that particular formula. The formula is M1 D1 H1 by W1 is equals to M2 D2 H2 by W2. So this is the formula we can use. M1 D1 H1 by W1 equals to M2 D2 H2 by W2. Now, what do you mean by this M1 D1 H1 W1? M1 means number of men in first case. In this example, it is 20. D1 number of days in first case 12. H1 number of hours in first case 5. Next W1 amount of work in first case 400. Next M2 number of men in second case. 2 indicates second case, so 30. D2 number of days in second case, that's what we need to find out. You can keep D2 or take some X. Next H2, so which is 6 hours in second case. Now W2 work in the second case. Simply substitute those variables and you can solve the required variable, that is D2, and you will come to know the answer you require. So based on this particular formula, they will use a different concepts. Like, let me explain. Sometimes what happened, they don't give you 4 of the variables, they will give you any 3. For example, they don't mention the work. Yeah, the question will be 20 men required 12 days when they are working 5 hours a day. Then what is the time taken by 30 men if they work 6 hours a day? When I don't discuss about the work, what do you mean by that? The work in both the cases are same. So the work in both the cases is same. Whatever the work they are able to finish in the first case, the same work has to be finished by 30 men in second case. So when the work in both the cases is same, what do you mean by that? W1 and W2 both are same. They will get cancelled. Now M1 D1 H1 equals to M2 D2 H2. So you can use the remaining variables and you will get the required D2. Sometimes they don't mention number of hours per day. Simply the question will be 20 men required 12 days to finish 400 meters of wall. Now 30 men for how many days? They will work to finish 600 meters of wall. Here, the number of hours I am not discussing. What do you mean by that? So whatever the number of hours these 20 men work for, the same number of hours these people will be working. So H1, H2 will be same. When these two variables are same, simply they will get cancelled and the remaining formula M1 D1 by W1 equals to M2 D2 by W2. So that's how you can take whatever the variable missing, you just simply, leave it and take the remaining form of the formula. Some people may take the formula in the form of M1 D1. You can take W1 by reciprocal of this. W1 by M1 D1 H1 equals to W2 by M2 D2 H2. Whatever the form you use, formula remains same. So it's up to you. Whatever the form you like, you can take the form. So based on this formula, there will be a different question. For example, 16 men can finish a particular work in 16 men can finish a particular work in 20 days. They started the work, okay. After 10 days, they were able to finish only 1/3 of the work. There are 16 men, so now 16 men require 20 days to finish the work actually. But this time they started working after first 10 days, they are able to complete only 1/3 of the work. Now my question is, how many more men should join this particular group in order to finish the work within the given time? Given time means 20 days is the maximum time given to them. Already 10 days completed, the remaining time is another 10 days now. So this question is related to the previous method only. Now what they are asking, 16 men can complete in 20 days, but this time they are working slowly. For the first 10 days, they are able to finish only 1/3 of the work. Now what is the time taken by, or what is the number of men they require to finish the work in the given time? Now what do you understand from this? 20 men started, they work for first 10 days and the work finished is 1/3. Now when 20 men work for 10 days, 1/3 of the work is finished. Now what they want in the given time means total time is 20 days, they already finished 10 days. So what is the remaining time? Another 10 days they left. Within these 10 days, they're supposed to finish the remaining work. When 1/3 of the work is finished, what is the remaining work? It should be 2/3. When 1/3 is finished, what is the remaining? 2/3. Suppose 1/4 is finished. What is the remaining? Whenever you have a fraction like this, 1/4 completed, what is the remaining? So take the difference of numerator and denominator. 3 by denominator remains same. Suppose 2/5 is finished. What is the remaining difference? 3/5. So this is how you need to take the remaining work now. Remaining work is 2/3 and remaining time is 10 days. So for that, what I am asking, how many more men should join the group? Because 20 men cannot finish the remaining work within the given time. They need some more. So 20, already working 20 plus some more X men will be joining. So this is how you can consider from the given information. 20 men, 10 days, 1/3 work. 20 plus X, 10 days, 2/3 of the work. Now M1, D1, W1, M2, D2, W2. So I am not discussing anything about the number of hours per day. That means you can remove H1, H2 from the formula, substitute in M1, D1 by W1 equals to M2, D2 by W2. Substitute these values in the same formula we discussed recently. Okay. Now, another question we can expect based on this formula. So that will be like 24 men can finish a work in 15 days. 24 men can finish a particular work in 15 days. Now, these 24 men started the work. They started the work. After 5 days, now 12 men left the work. 12 men left the work. So 24 men wanted to finish the work, but after they started this, they worked for 5 days. After 5 days, 12 men left. Now, what is the time taken by the remaining people to finish the remaining work? Of course, the numbers indicate the easy answer here, but if I change the numbers, let's see how you can get the required answer now. 24 men work for 5 days. First of all, let's calculate what is the work finished by these 24 men in the first 5 days. Now, 24 men, 15 days. Now, can anybody tell me what is the 1 day work of 24 men? 24 men, 15 days. Okay. Now, when we have 24 men for 15 days, the work will be finished. So from this, if I take only one man, he required 24 into 15. The number of days we required here is 24 into 15. So what is the number? 360 days. So the number of days required is 360. Now what is one man, 1 day work? 1 by 360. If I required 1 man, 1 day work. Or you can go in other way. Since the combination is same, 24 men, instead of going for 1 man, 1 day work, if this combination is different, you can go for that. If not, since same 24 men working here, 24 men can finish in 15 days. Now, 24 men, 1 day work is 1 by 15 simply. Here also you can take 15 times of this, you will get the same answer. Okay? Sorry, 24 times. 24 men are there, so 24 times. Hello. Yeah. Sorry for the disturbance. So for 24 men, 1 day work is 1 by 15. Okay. Now they work for 5 days. So for 1 day it is 1 by 15. Since they work for 5 days, so 5 times of this. For 5 days, 5 times of this. So 24 men. I repeat, 24 men. 5 days work is simply 1 by 3. Now 24 men work for 5 days and they finish 1/3 of the work. When 1/3 of the work is finished, what is the remaining work? 2/3. 2/3 is the remaining work. Now, 24 men initially started the work, but after 5 days, 12 men left the work. So when 12 men left, the remaining are only 12. So now here we have only 12 to finish the remaining work. Now 2/3 is the work. 12 men is the number of group we are having here. What is the time required by them to finish the work? So this is what we need to calculate. So again same formula. 24 men, 5 days, 1/3 work. 12 men, how many days? 2/3 is the work. So the same formula M1 D1 by W1 equals to M2 D2 by W2. So that's how we can use that particular formula in order to solve most of the questions based on this particular chain rule. Now, since we discussed a few models here, so let me display some questions. So these are some questions, based on the previous discussion, you can solve. AB time given, you need to find out the time taken by A and B together. Okay. Next. Now, so A is twice as efficient as B. And so this model also 15 men or 20 men, calculating 1 day work of 1 man and 1 woman. Then substitute in the combination 6 men and 2 men. Now, okay, the previous formula we discussed, M1 D1 W1 by M1 D1 H1 by W1 equals to M2 D2 H2 by W2. That formula you can use. 7 spiders make 7 webs in 7 days. So here instead of number of men, it is clearly given that 7 spiders. So you can take M1 as 7 and work. What is the work they are doing? So making webs. So you can keep 7 as W1. And what is the time? 7 days. Then what they are asking? To make 1 web. So here M2 you can keep it as 1 and your work is W1 already given as 7/1 and W2 simply it is 1. Now you need to calculate D2. Substitute in the same formula you will get. I know most of you are getting 1 as the answer, but that's not true. Let's try by substituting that. Or you can use your common sense, which can give you the answer. Let's go for the discussion on time and distance, which is another important topic for any kind of examination. Now, time and distance. Or the same topic can be referred as time, speed, distance. So time and distance or time, speed, distance. So now this combination is all about 3 variables: time, speed, distance. So when you understand the relation between 3 variables, most of the questions will be solved. And from this particular topic, time, speed, distance or time and distance, most of the times we can expect the questions related to trains. So trains related problems, those are the important, aspects from this particular topic. So let's see what do you mean by that. Time, speed, distance. What is the relation?
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
The little disturbance is there, sir. In your audio. Audio disturbance is there.
Nothing has been changed, ma'am. Is it okay now? Hello.
Yes, sir. Continue.
Okay. Is it clear now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, what is the relation So DTS, as we all know this particular word, DTS, what do you mean by this? Distance is equals to time multiplied by speed, or you can take time is equals to distance by speed, or speed is equals to distance by time. So these are the three relations between these three variables. If you want distance, you can calculate by multiplying time and speed, or if you want time, you can divide distance by speed, or speed can be calculated by dividing distance by time. Now, the set of units we use most of the times, for distance, time, speed. Most commonly we use distance in meters, time in seconds, and speed meter per second. And when we use kilometers per distance, obviously time should be in hours, and speed is in kilometer per hour. Now, this is how we can use the units for these combinations. Sometimes they mention distance in meters, time in seconds, but they will give you speed in kilometer per hour. How to convert kilometers per hour into meters per second, or meters per second into kilometer per hour? So it is very simple. 1 kilometer per hour is nothing but 1 kilometer means 1000 meters by 1 hour means 60 minutes, and you are considering in seconds. So 60 into 60, that is 3600. So when you cancel this, simply, so 5 by 18. So from this, what you can understand is 1 kilometer per hour is nothing but 5 by 18 meters per second. Or if you want to convert meter per second into kilometer per hour, 18 by 5 reciprocal. So these are the basic things you need to understand before you go for discussion of the questions from this topic. So now let's take few models from this basic, related questions we'll discuss first, and then we'll go for, as I told, trains related questions. Those are the most expecting questions from this particular topic. Now, so one of the questions we can expect from this one is, a boy is going to his school at particular speed and he required a particular time. Now, one fine day, what happened when he walked 3 by 5th of his usual speed? When he walked at 3 by 5th of his usual speed, he is getting 12 minutes late because he is not going at his normal speed. This particular time, day, what happened? He skipped his breakfast, so he is not having proper energy. So this time he is walking slowly. When he is walking 3 by 5th of his normal speed, he will get obviously late. So 12 minutes late. Now my question is, when he is getting 12 minutes late by walking 3 by 5th of his normal speed, what is the time required by that particular boy to reach the school? Generally, normally, usually, every day, what is the time taken by that particular boy? This fine day, he is going slow and getting 12 minutes late, we can understand. But every day, generally, when he walks at his normal speed, what is the time taken by him? So for this, you can use that particular formula, you can calculate that, or instead of that, it's better to use, common sense to understand the information given here. Actually, his speed is 5 parts. When he is using only 3 parts out of 5 parts, he is getting 12 minutes late. Okay. Now, instead of 5 parts, if he is using only 3 parts, he is getting 12 minutes late. Now, what is the relation between speed and time? Suppose you are traveling at 60, you require 2 hours. When you travel at 40, will you reach in 2 hours? No, obviously you will be taking more than that. So speed is inversely proportional to time. More speed, less time, or less speed, more time. Now, inversely proportional. So when the fraction of speed is 3 by 5, this is related to speed. What about time? When speed is 3 by 5, obviously time should be 5 by 3. What do you mean by this? When you are going at 5 speed, you require 3 parts of time. When you go at 3 parts of speed, you require 5 parts of time. So previously, initially, usually the boy is going at 5 parts of the speed and he takes 3 parts of the time. Now this time he is going at 3 parts of the speed and requires 5 parts of the time. Since the speed decreases, time has been increased. This is what you need to understand because the relation is inversely proportional. Now, coming to time, previously it was 3 parts, but this time it is 5 parts. So from this scenario, what we can understand? The time has been increased and it is increased by 2 parts. So 2 parts has been increased and that increased value is given as 12 minutes. So what do you mean by 12 minutes late? Suppose every day I'm taking 2 hours to reach my college, but this time, I'm getting 30 minutes late. What do you mean by that? I'm taking today 30 minutes extra. So 2 hours plus 30 minutes I'm taking. In the same way, 12 minutes late means he is taking 12 minutes extra. Normal time plus another 12 minutes. So usually he required 3 parts, but today another 2 parts extra. So that extra time is nothing but 12 minutes. So from this, we can understand it, 2 parts is 12 minutes. So from this, what you can understand is 2 parts 12 minutes means 1 part is 6 minutes. And what is the usual time he required? What is the usual time? 3 parts. So usual time is 3 parts. If 2 parts equals to 12, what is 3 parts value? Simply it is 18. 1 part is 6, 3 parts is 18. And the time required by the boy usually is 18 minutes to reach school. So this is how you can solve this question. So for the same question, you have another method. Actually, we have 3-4 different methods. Instead of explaining each and every method here, I'll take 2 of the best methods. Now, this is first one, how you can understand that particular relation between speed and time, and you can apply that. Now, another one is whenever you have a question like this. So the previous one is we are using CS, and this time we are going for SC. Okay. So what do you mean by CS and SC? Previous one was CS, common sense, and now SC, shortcut. So what is the shortcut to solve these type of questions? Now, generally, they will give you a fraction and time related to that. Now, 3 by 5th of the speed, 12 minutes late, or it should be 5 by 8th of the speed, 6 minutes late, whatever it is. Whether it is late or early, let me take one more scenario for early also. Suppose 4 by 3rd of the speed, 5 minutes early. Even for that scenario, the shortcut works. Whenever you have these particular, these type of questions, the answer is very simple. Simply in one step, you can take the answer. How to take that? Whenever you have a fraction and a time related to that, whether it is late or early, the answer is take the difference between numerator and denominator, that is 2 parts, okay, divided by denominator multiplied by the time given here. Let me repeat, take the difference between numerator and denominator divided by denominator multiplied by the time. If I consider the same formula here, the previous question was 3 by 5th of the speed and 12 minutes late. So that's how I'm going to what was the previous one? 5 by 3rd. 5. The previous example was 2 by 3rd, I think, the speed. Okay. Now, so 2 by 5th of the speed, 2 by 5th of this into 12. So this is what you get. Suppose if I take for this scenario 5 by 8. 5 by 8. Okay. 6 minutes. 3 is the difference. Okay. Sorry. Let me explain once again. Okay. Small mistake here. So the previous one was as we got 80 minutes. So I explained the reciprocal of the formula. So what is the formula here is, the shortcut is take numerator as it is by difference between the numerator and denominator into the time given here. So the mistake we did was difference by denominator we took. Sorry for that. Now, what is the numerator? 3 and the difference 2. Okay, and 12 minutes is the difference. Now, let me apply the same here. So what is the numerator? 4 by what is the difference? 1 into 5 minutes. So the answer is 20 minutes. Here also 5 by difference 3 multiplied by 6. 3 to the 6, 2 into 5, 10 minutes. So once again, let me explain the formula. Take the numerator divided by difference multiplied by the time difference given, whether it is late or early, whatever it is. Okay. Hope it is clear. Let me explain once again. Suppose when a boy is running at 9 by 11th of his speed, he is getting 4 minutes early because he is late. Sorry, he is going slow, so he is getting 4 minutes slow. What is the usual time? Simply 9 by the difference 2 multiplied by 4. That's how you can calculate. Suppose if it is a boy is going at 8 by 5 of his speed and reaching 12 minutes early. 12 minutes early. 8 by 8 difference 3 into 12. So that's how you can solve this type of questions. You have two approaches. You can follow any of that. Otherwise, you can use the relation of time, speed, distance and substitute in the formula. You will get the equations. You can solve that one also. Another question here we can expect is, a particular bus going at 54 kilometers per hour speed. When it is going without stop, without any stop, it's going at 54 kilometers per hour speed. Now, if it stops at particular point, then the speed of the bus is 45 kilometers per hour. The question they ask will be, the speed of the bus including the stoppages is 45 kilometers per hour and excluding the stoppages 54 kilometers per hour. Then what is the time spent by the bus at the stops in 1 hour? Generally, when the bus is going without any stop, the speed of that particular bus was 54. Now, when it stops at particular point and going, then the speed has to be decreased, and that decreased speed is 45. Now, the question is, if the bus travels for 1 hour, what is the time spent at that particular point in 1 hour? So that's the question they are asking. Now, how to solve this one? So I know most of the people are getting the difference as the answer, 9 minutes, but it is not the difference of these two numbers. So generally, when the bus is going, okay, it requires 1 hour to reach 54 kilometers distance. It travels 54 kilometers distance in 1 hour or in 60 minutes. Now, because of some points, in between, so it's stopping at those particular points and it gets only 45 kilometers as the speed. So what do you understand that because of that? And so the speed has been decreased. It required 54 requires 60 minutes to reach 54 kilometers distance. The bus reaches 54 kilometers distance in 60 minutes without any disturbance if it is going directly. Next time, when it is going at 45 kilometers per hour speed, okay, that means in the same 1 hour, it's going 45 kilometers, whereas it has to reach 54 kilometers in the same time. So it's covering only 45 instead of 54, means it lost 9 kilometers distance. The bus has to cover 54, but it's covering only 45 kilometers in the same time. That means it's covering 9 kilometers less. Now, what I can understand is whatever the time required by the bus to cover 9 kilometers has been spent at the stop. That's the reason why it's covering 9 kilometers less. So, what is the time spent by the bus in 1 hour at the stop? Is simply the time to travel 9 kilometers. Now, what is the time required by the bus to travel 9 kilometers? Simply, for 54 kilometers, it is 60 minutes. For 1 kilometer, it is 60 by 54 minutes. So, for 1 kilometer, it is 60 by 54, but we are calculating for 9 kilometers. So, 9. Simply, it is 10 minutes. So the bus is wasting 10 minutes in every hour by stopping at that particular point. So hope it is clear. Let me explain once again. It has to cover 54 in every 60 minutes, but because of that stop, it's covering only 45 in those 60 minutes. Now, how much time it's wasting at the stop? Simply, instead of 54, it's covering 45, means 9 kilometers less. So for every hour, it's covering 9 kilometers less. Why? Because the time is wasted at the particular point. So how much time to travel 9 kilometers? It requires 60 by 54 into 9, that is 10 minutes. So that's how you can calculate the time spent by the bus at the particular point. Now this is one way. Another way is, okay, based on the ratio. So the speed 54 has become 45. So this is speed. So the ratio of speed is nothing but, if you cancel 9, 6:5. Now coming to time. So when the speed is 54 without any stop, there is no disturbance. Now since stopping at the point, it has become 45. So now the ratio of these two is 6:5. When the speed ratio is 6:5, what about time ratio? 5:6. 5:6. Now, so it has to spend 6 parts of the time, but now it's spending only 5 parts. That means the time given here is 1 minute. So 6 parts is 60 minutes. 5 parts 50 minutes. If it is and 60 minutes for 6 parts, only 50 minutes for 5 parts. So what is the time difference we are getting here? 10 minutes. So the time difference between these two is 10 minutes. So in that way also you can solve. So the time spent by the bus at the point is 10 minutes in every hour. If they ask for 2 hours, 2 times of 10 minutes, 20 minutes. If they ask for half an hour, half of that. Okay. Now, these are, few questions based on those basic variables. Now, let's go for train-related concept. Train-related concept, because we can expect some questions from this particular concept. Trains. What do you mean by this particular train-related concept? Let me take one example. So let me draw a small figure from which you can understand the scenario. Let's take a train, okay, going in this direction, and there is a bridge, okay. Now, this particular train is going at particular speed and it's, crossing the bridge. In order to say the train has crossed the bridge, it has to reach this particular position. Whenever the train reaches this position, we can say that the train has crossed the bridge. Now, to cross this bridge, because most of the questions, in this particular topic, they'll ask the time taken by the train to cross a particular object. The object may be a bridge, platform, another train. Let me give you some examples what we can expect from this topic. The questions like, what is the time taken by a train to cross a bridge? What is the time taken by a train to cross a platform of 120 meters? What is the time taken by a train to cross another train? This is, what we can expect from this concept. That's why let me explain how we can calculate the time taken by the train to cross any particular object. Object may be a bridge or a platform or another train, whatever it is. Now, in order to cross this particular object, what the train is doing, initially the train was at this particular point. Now it's going to cross the bridge. Now, in order to cross the bridge, the train is reaching this particular point. So to cross this particular object, the train is traveling from this point to this point. So from this point to this point means you can consider the starting point or end points, whatever it is. If I consider AB as the, status of the train before and after crossing the bridge. Now, initially, the engine of the train was at A before it crossed the bridge. After it crossed the bridge, the position is at B. Now, in order to cross this particular bridge, the train is traveling from A to B, simply traveling from A to B to cross this particular bridge. Indirectly, it's traveling a certain distance from A to B. Now, in between, I am considering another point C. What C indicates? So, the end of this particular bridge. What is AC? AC is nothing but the length of this bridge length. What is BC? Train length. So, the total distance traveled by the train is simply the length of the object plus the length of the train. So, based on this, I am going to derive a formula from which you can solve most of the questions from this concept. Since they are asking for the time, taken by the train to cross a particular object, the formula for time is distance by speed. This is the basic formula, as we all know. Since we are calculating time, the distance, what is the distance traveled by the train in this particular case? Not only to cross bridge. Tomorrow it might be crossing a platform or a man standing or another train coming or going in the same direction. Whatever the object we keep here. So that object length. So indirectly, here you can take any object, whether it is a bridge, platform. So I'm taking that particular bridge or platform as object, a common name for all these things. So that object length plus it's covering the train length. So the distance traveled by the train to cross any object is simply the length of the object plus length of the train and speed. Obviously, the train speed plus or minus that particular object speed. I'll explain what do you mean by this plus or minus, how we need to consider that plus or minus in a particular scenario. So the formula is simply the sum of the length. So which length we are taking? The length of that particular train which is crossing and the length of the object. So the sum of length of object and train divided by the sum or difference of their speed. So when to use that, sum or difference, I'll let you know. Now, for example, if the question is given as there is a train of 150 meters length traveling at 30 meters per second speed. Okay, now the question is in what time this train can cross a bridge of 120 meters. So the train length is 150 meters traveling at 30 meters per second speed and it has to cross a bridge of 120 meters. What is the time taken by this train to cross this particular bridge? Now let's see what is the time taken by this. Now object length, what is the object here? Bridge. What is the length? 120 plus what is the train length? 150 divided by, now, sum or difference of the speed. What is the speed of this train? 30. Now, plus or minus, let's see plus or minus speed of this particular object. What is the object here? Bridge. Is it moving? No, obviously when it is not moving, it is considered as a constant object, a stable object, so the speed is nothing but 0. Now whether you take plus or minus remains same because 0 will not affect the value. Now 270 by 30 are simply 9 seconds. Since the distance is in meters, speed is in meters per second, time should be in seconds. So 9 seconds. How you can calculate? Now instead of this bridge, tomorrow the question will be a platform of 250 meters. So the length of the platform will be considered as 250. Or to cross another train of length 120 meters. So instead of bridge, you are keeping another train and you can take the same length. Or a man standing there. Now when a man is standing there, now do we expect any length for a man? When he is standing, he is having a height but not any length. So the length of the man is considered as 0. This value should be 0. So whenever the train is crossing a pole, simply pole will be like this. It's nothing but a point, crossing a point. Whenever you find questions saying that the train is crossing a pole, the length of the pole is always 0. I'm not talking about the height, the length of the pole is 0. Or the train is crossing a man. Whenever it's crossing a man, obviously the length is 0. Whenever it's crossing a tree, the length of the tree is considered as 0. So whenever you find a pole, tree or a man in the questions, substitute object length by 0. That's what you need to understand. So simply by your common sense you can understand that. So object length, the length for the object will be considered for platform or a bridge or another train. We can understand. So when the object is considered as a pole or a man or a tree, there is no length for that. So obviously it is 0. Now coming to speed, object speed. Anyhow, train speed length will be mentioned in the question, need not to worry. Now coming to object speed. Suppose if the object is a bridge, we all know that there is no speed for bridge. If the object is platform, for that also we don't have any speed for a platform. When the question saying that to cross a standing man, when the man is standing, there is no speed for that man. Or when the question is saying a man is running at 8 kilometers per hour speed in the same direction, that means the man is having a particular speed, substitute that speed. Suppose if the question is saying, in what time the train will cross a pole? So this time you need to calculate the time taken by the train to cross a pole. Object is pole. What is the length of the object? 0. What is the speed of the object? Object is nothing but pole in this case. So the speed is 0 as well as length also 0. So you need to consider those three objects, man, pole and tree. So whenever you have those objects, obviously length is 0. And coming to speed, if the man is standing, then it is 0. When the man is walking, running or moving, you can consider that particular speed. Now, when the object is a platform or a bridge, obviously the speed is 0, but you will have some length. Now, when the object is considered as another train, suppose the question is saying that in what time a train is crossing another train. So when it's crossing another train, the other train is also moving, having a length. So when the object is considered as a moving train, you need to substitute the length and speed of this particular object. Both will be mentioned in the question. You need to take those values and substitute here. Hope you understood. Let me show some questions based on this particular discussion so that you can understand how to solve them. Now, walking at 2/3 of his usual speed, a man reaches his office late by 10 minutes. Find the usual time taken to reach the office. So as we discussed, 2/3 speed and 10 minutes late. Hope you can solve this one. So 2 by difference is 1 into 10, that is 20 minutes. Now, We'll discuss this question. A train moving at the speed of 90 kilometers per hour and crosses a pole in 7 seconds. Find the length of the train. Now, here the speed of the train is given.
Sir, question share over the screen. Can you share the screen where the question is written? Yeah.
Okay. Once again. So now you can see the question.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Walking
It is
at
visible.
2 by third
Yes.
of usual speed, a man reaches his office late by 10 minutes. So when he is walking at 2 by third, so he is late by 10 minutes. What is the usual speed? Usual time to reach. So as I told, the shortcut you can use or you can go for that ratio. Now, 2 by third, 2 numerator by difference. Difference is 1. 2 by 1 into time difference 10. So that is 20 minutes. Now, a train moving at 90 kilometers per hour speed crosses a pole in 7 seconds. Now, the same formula. So, what is the formula? Time equals to object length plus train length by train speed plus or minus object speed. Now, train speed is given 90 kilometers per hour. And if you observe the question, time is given in seconds and the speed is in kilometers per hour. You need to convert the speed into meters per second. How to convert kilometers per hour into meters per second? We already discussed at the starting. I told you the fraction to multiply, that is 5 by 18 and 18 by 5. Whenever you need to convert kilometers per hour into meters per second or meters per second into kilometers per hour. So you can multiply by 5 by 18, you will get the speed in terms of meters per second. So substitute that, value as train speed, okay, and in the formula time equals to, the time is given as 7 seconds, and what are the other values we need to substitute in the formula? Train length. That's what they are asking. Now coming to object. So what is the object here? So crosses a pole in 7 seconds. So what is the object we need to consider here? Pole. When the object is given as pole, we already discussed about the length and the speed. For any pole, you don't have any length or speed. So object length is 0 as well as object speed is 0. So substitute object length and speed by 0 and time is 7 seconds. Train speed is given there. So obviously you need to find out train length. Same formula, substitute. But instead of time, they are asking for length of the speed, train. Now, a moving train crosses a man standing on the platform and a platform. Now, a moving train crosses a man standing on a platform and the platform of 300 meters long in 10 seconds and 25 seconds respectively. What is the length of the train? Now, this is actually a good question. Now, can anybody tell me what is the object in this case? So, if you observe this particular question, crosses a man standing on a platform. So, a man is standing on the platform and platform of 300 meters long. So, a platform is crossing a platform as well as a man standing on the platform. So, there are two objects given. What are the two objects? First object is a man standing, second object is a platform. So if you substitute in the formula, you will get two equations. You can solve those two equations. If not, you can solve this particular question by using a simple technique, or I can say a shortcut or a technique. Let me explain the technique. First of all, let me explain how you can solve this one. So, a man
Full screen
standing on the platform.
Sir, you are sharing the screen, sir. Yeah. Now it is visible. The board is visible.
Okay. Just one second. Let me see that question. Okay. Fine. So, a moving train crosses. A moving train means it's moving, so it has a speed and it has a length, obviously. So it's crossing a man standing on the platform. Okay. Now the length of this platform is 300 meters. Now the time taken by the train to cross the man is 10 seconds. Yes, 10 seconds, and to cross this platform, 25 seconds. So this is the information given here. So we need to calculate the length of the train. So let's see how we can calculate. If I substitute in the formula, time is equal to train length, which is not given, so I can consider as L plus first case. I am considering first case where the object is a man. Now, train length is L, object length. What is the object length in this case? Because the object is a man standing on the platform, the length of the object is 0 by train speed. It is not given, so let us assume it as S plus or minus. Now, the speed of the man, since it is mentioned as man standing, so obviously speed is 0 for the man. Length and speed both are 0. Object speed and length both are 0. Train length assumed as L and speed S. So from this, okay. Now the time in this case is given as 10 seconds. So simply it is nothing but 10 is equal to L by S. And if I take second case, in second case time is equal to train length, same train. So L, what is the object here? Platform, and the length is 300 divided by train speed, same speed, S plus or minus, since the object is platform, and we know that there won't be any speed for platform. So again, in this case the time is given as 25 seconds. Hello. Okay. So, you can substitute the value, and the time in this case is 25 seconds, length is L plus 300 by S. So these are the two equations. You can solve these two equations and get the required value. What is that? L. Okay. Simply you can solve these two equations. You will get the required value, length of the train. This is by using this formula. Now let me explain the other way of the same solution. You will get the solution simply by using this particular technique. What is that? The train is crossing a standing man in the first case, whereas a platform in the second case. We all know that in order to cross any object, it has to cover a certain distance. So in the first case, what is the distance traveled by the train? The length of the train plus the length of the object. As we all know that standing man length is 0. Simply the train is taking 10 seconds time to travel L distance. In the second case, the distance traveled by the train is length of the train plus length of the platform, that is 300. I don't mind about the speed because it is same in both the cases. Now, in the second case, the length is length of the train plus length of the platform, that is L plus 300. It is length of the train, it is length of the platform. And the time taken in the second case is 25 seconds. Now, if you observe these two equations, the difference in time is 15 seconds. The difference in time is 15 seconds. What about the difference in length or the distance? 300 meters. The distance is given in terms of meters. Now, so from this, what you can understand is the train is taking 15 seconds to cover 300 meters of distance. Now, my question is, what is the length of the train? The length of the train is equal to L, which is equal to 10 seconds distance of train. So, 15 seconds equals to 300 meters, the length of the train, which is equals to 10 seconds, which is equals to, if 15 seconds equals to 300, 10 seconds, simply 200 meters. This is how you can understand from these two scenarios. So what you need to understand, the distance traveled by the train in first case is equals to the length of the train because object length is 0. In second case, length of the train plus object length, which is L plus 300. So if you understand these two equations, the difference in time is 15 seconds, the difference in distance is 300. So 15 seconds distance equals to 300 meters. 10 seconds distance is equals to length of the train, which is 200 meters. That's how you can understand. Now, coming to this plus or minus formula in this particular case, so whenever you have a particular case, what to use? Till now, we haven't get any scenario where we need to decide plus or minus, but how to decide whether it is plus or minus? So whenever the train is crossing another moving object, suppose a man is running in the same direction. So I'm saying the train is crossing a moving object. Moving object might be a man running. If the direction is same, consider minus. So whenever the train and the object both are moving in the same direction, it is minus. If the direction is different, that is opposite direction, different or opposite direction, you need to take plus. If you are getting confused, let me tell you a small technique to understand. So if you consider the symbol minus, it is having only one direction, that is same. If both the directions of object and the train is same, go for minus. If you look at plus, the directions are different. So whenever the direction is different, you need to take plus. Okay? That's how you can decide the symbol plus or minus based on that.
Sir, you are muted yourself.
Yeah.
Okay.
Since we discussed, few topics from quantitative aptitude, now let's go for reasoning topic. Now, if I take reasoning topic, for example, coding and decoding. Of course, it's an easy topic. So whatever the kind of exam you attend, definitely there will be some questions from this particular coding and decoding topic. So from reasoning, there are many topics like coding, decoding, blood relations, directions, number series, seating arrangements. So these are the few important topics. So one among them is coding, decoding. It takes less time to give you the direction to solve these questions. Let's discuss something about coding and decoding because the weightage is high and the concept is simple. Let me give you the input. In coding and decoding, first of all, you should understand the base values of alphabets or simply numbers associated with the alphabet. What do you mean by that? The serial numbers or the orders or the base value? Simply, A is considered as the first letter, that's why the number is 1, B is 2, C is 3, D is 4, and so on. Okay, you need to remember all these values so that the the answer for any kind of question will become so simple when you go for the logic, when you know the numbers. So there are few logics to remember some alphabets. So let me explain those logics. Suppose if you take these two alphabets, so these two seems to be 3, so these two are having 3. We all know that there are 26 alphabets. From 1 to 26, the 3 appears in 3 situations: 3, 13, 23. As we all know, third letter is C. You can eliminate that. Now, after that elimination, the remaining options are 13, 23. So the first 3 goes to M, which is 13. Next one is 23. Next, if you take F, F value is 6, which is 6. F is 6 at 6. If you take N, N stands for November. We all know the important date in the month of November, that is 14, Children's Day. So N stands for 14. Like that, we have certain techniques. So if I consider I, which seems to be 9. Okay. So if I go for K, 11. So generally V stands for victory. The symbol we show here is V, 22, and half of that one is K, that is 11. Okay. So instead of remembering these logics, simply you can take 1 to 26 alphabets and try with the numbers. When you know the numbers, the logic will become so simple. To understand the logic, it is very simple. So A, B, C, and so on. Another 2 things you need to know, that is, try with this one. So what I'm doing here is first half of the alphabet I'm taking in the first row and the remaining half in the second row. Now these are called as paired letters. Now paired letters. What is the logic here? The values are 1, 14, 2, 15, 3, 16, 12, 25, 13, 26. So these are called as paired letters. A-N, these are paired letters. B-O, paired. C-P, paired. L-Y, paired. M-Z, paired letters. So the simple logic is the difference between these two is constant, that is 13. For any 2 paired letters, the difference between their base values is 13. So another set of values you need to understand is the opposite paired letter. What do you mean by that? Simply write the second half in opposite direction. Now, when you write the second half in opposite direction, now 14, 15, 25, 26. The sum of these two, 27, the sum of these two, 27, the sum of these two, 27, the sum of these two, 27. So here, the sum is 27. In previous case, the difference is 13. So this is how you can remember the paired letters, opposite paired letters, because sometimes the logic may depend upon their values or paired letters logic or opposite paired logic. Now, let me give you some examples. So here we have 3 types of questions. One is based on their position values. Suppose, let me take today. In a certain coding language, today is coded as U, P, E, D, Z. Now, when the word today is coded as U, P, E, D, Z, how to code math? the same language. So the question will be like this. Now you need to write down the code for this particular given word. When you understand the logic, it is very simple to write. So whenever you have a coding decoding question, so what you can do is try to write the base values, that is 20, 15, 4, 1, 25, 21, 16, 5, 2, 26. Now when you observe the pattern, simply 1 increasing every time. So by adding 1, they are writing the given word code. Now m value is 13. When you add 1, it is 14, which indicates n. Now a is 1 plus 1, it is 2, which indicates b. Now t20 plus 1, 21 is u. Now it is 8 plus 1, 9, it is I. It is 19 plus 1, 20, which is C. So this is one example. Let me take one more example. This act is written as DEW. How to write run? Now let's try to understand the logic between the given code and word. It is 1, it is 2. So what you can understand is it is increased by 1. It is 3, it is 5. So increased by 2. It is 20, it is 23. So increased by 3. So they are adding 1, 2, 3. So here plus 1, plus 2, plus 3. R plus 1, 18 plus 1, 19, which is S. U, 21 plus 2, 23, W. Now N, 14 plus 3, 17, Q. Since I know the numbers, I am getting answer easily. So the moment you understand the numbers of each and every letter, this will be so simple. So like this, adding 1 every time, or 1, 2, 3, sometimes they will add a constant value like 1, 1, 1, 1. They may take any constant value. Let me take goat is coded as then how to write the code for tiger. Now if you look at the values, it is 7, it is 12, it is 15, it is 20, it is 1, it is 6, it is 20, it is 25. So what is the relation between 7 and 12? It is increased by 5. 15 has become 20, means again increased by 5. So 1, 6, 20, 25. Okay. So the logic is simply increased by 5. Every time you need to add 5, 5, 5. So when you add T plus 5, simply it is Y, I plus 5, N, G plus 5, L, E plus 5, J, R plus 5, W. So the moment you understand the base values, it has become so simple. So they might be increasing by 1, 2, 3 or 1, 1 or a constant value. Okay, this is how they generally code. Now, we discussed about code and pair and opposite pair letters. So how they use that? Simply the code for pen. If the word pen is coded as PRA, what is the code for book? In a certain coding language, the word pen is coded as PRA. What is the code for book in that particular language? Now, it is 16, it is 3, it is 5, it is 18, it is 14, it is 1. So if you observe the differences, every time it is 13, 13, 13. So when the difference is 13, these are called as pair letters. As we discussed, these are pair letters. Now, you need to write pair letter for book. So what is the pair letter for that? So 2, difference should be 13. 2, 13 means 15, which is O. Again for O, it is B. Is B. So 11, difference should be 13, which is X. Since I know the values, I am getting it fastly. So when you understand that, even that will be so simple for. So this is pair logic. In the same way, they may use opposite pair letters also. Okay, this is based on their numbers. Sometimes the coding technique might be different. Like the code for bat is given as 23. What is the code for ball? In a certain coding language, the word bat is coded as 23. Then what is the code for ball? Why they have given that number 23 for that? When you know the values, it is 2, it is 1, it is 20. So all together it is 23. Now it is 2, it is 1, it is 12, it is 12. All together it is 24, 27. That's how you need to get the answer. Sometimes go equals to 4, come equals to 16. Now equals. Now the word go is written as 4, come equals to 16, then now equals to. Why they are giving those particular numbers? Because we have 2 letters, 2 alphabets in the given word. So number of letters square, 2, 2 square, 4, 4 square. Since we have 3, 3 square, 9. This is another technique. Or sometimes the technique will be like this. 251920. How to code last? Now, in a certain coding language, the word best is coded as 251920. Then what is the code for last in the same language? So what is the relation? The value of this particular letter is 2, and here it is 5, it is 19, it is 20. So when they are writing these numbers all together, the code has become 251920. In the same way now, L value 12, A1, S19, C20. So 121920 should be the code for that one. This is another technique we can expect. So based on their position values, they can add, subtract, they may go for a square of the number of letters, whatever the technique. Now this is how they consider a particular number for a word. Now the third type of technique will be I need to write the code for mobile where India is written as AIDNI. The word India is written as AIDNI, then how to write the code for mobile in the same language? So what is the technique they are using here? Simply writing the letters of the given word in reverse order. So you need to write the letters in reverse order. So the code will be ELIBOM. This is how you can take the code for the required word mobile. Next. Read. Now the code for read is ERDA. Then what is the code for note? So what they are doing is taking two letters and simply reversing the letters, the pair letters, two letters, the pair of the letters, writing them in reverse order. RE has become ER, AD has become DA. Now in the same way, NO will be ON, CE will be ET. So that's how we can expect the answer for this one. Okay. Now, another way, the code for country is written as OCNYRT. Now, how to write code for person? Now, if you understand the logic, the middle letter in the given word is N and keeping that at the middle only. So that's constant, that remains constant. The position is the same. Now the first three letters order has been changed. So they are writing in reverse order. Now the last three letters TRY has become YRT. Now in the same way, the middle letter S remains in the same position. Now the first three should be written as REP. Next, ONS should be SNO. Now, sometimes the technique might be given like this also. The word allot is written as allot. Then how to write many? Now the word allot is given as allot. Then what is the code for many? So what is the logic here? If you look at the letters, they are written in alphabetical order. So the alphabetical order of these letters A, L, O, T. Now in the same way, if you write or arrange the letters of the given word in alphabetical order, which letter comes first? A. Next, M, N, Y. So we are writing in alphabetical order. Sometimes the logic may be like this also. The word courage is written as now. How to write code for right? Now, for the word courage, the code is given as OUAECRG. What is the logic here? So they are taking OUAE first. So from the given word, they are taking all the vowels and writing them first. So first they are taking vowels and followed by consonants. In the same way, what are the vowels in the given word? I, E, and consonants W or T. So this is how we can write the code for this one. So these are the few, logics what they follow in coding and decoding. So my suggestion is, when you know the base values, you can write the logic easily. So whenever you have a coding and decoding question, first of all, try to understand one thing. What's happening in the given question? Suppose if you take this example, courage has been written as OUAECRJ. First of all, try to understand what are the letters they are using. Are they using same letters of the given word, or they are writing some other letters like previous one? We use some other examples. Let me take one example here, like P. P is written as Q. E is written as. So the word pen is written as QFO, and here courage is written as this particular thing. Whenever you have questions like this, try to understand one thing. Are they using same letters of the given word as the code, or different letters? If the letters are same, we don't mind about the order. I am not talking about the order. Order might be different, but the letters, same letters, O, U, same letters from the given word we are using. If the letters they are using are same, then you need to understand that the technique is based on their order. What you need to understand, the technique is related to their order. They have changed the order of the letter, so that you need to go for that particular logic. You need to check what is the order they are using. Suppose if the code for the given word is like this, they are not using same letter, they are using different letters. What you need to understand in this case is, they are using some logic related to their values like 16, 5, 14, 17, 6, 15. So what they are doing here, the logic is related to their values. If they are using same letters, it is related to order, and if the letters are different, it is related to value. That's what you need to understand by looking at the question. If the letters are same, it is easy. Most of the times, the answers will be simple because you can understand whether they are writing in reverse order or vowels first or alphabetical order or keeping the middle letter at the same or two letters getting reverse. Like that, you will get some easy logic. If the letters are replaced by some other new letters, you need to go for the values, the position values or serial numbers. That's what you need to understand. So based on these two, you can expect the answers for the given word. Hope you understood. So this is how you can understand. Okay, so once you know the concept and the logic behind that, the questions will become so simple. So I hope you understood. Try to practice because it's all about practice. It's easy to understand, but the moment you practice on your own, then the things will become so simple. So try to practice as much as you can. Try to solve different kind of questions that will help you in coming examination. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for your wonderful informative session. Dear participants, the feedback link is posted. Please fill it and submit. May I now request Rachana Madam, Assistant Professor, Department of Mathematics, to propose vote of thanks.
Good evening, everyone. First of all, I would like to thank Mr. Fayaz for the wonderful session. Sir, the various methods that you taught to crack the aptitude questions are definitely beneficial to all our young students who will be writing aptitude in their various entrance examination. The shortcut methods or the different ways of remembering the concepts reduces a lot of time and effort in calculation. I'm sure the methods of solving also helped us, the teachers, to teach our students in a better way. On behalf of entire SJC family, I thank you, sir, for accepting our invitation and for sharing your knowledge. Thank you, sir. I sincerely thank the management of SJEC for giving us the opportunity to organize this webinar. I thank our HOD, Dr. Ramananda, and the entire Maths department for rendering helping hand in organizing this webinar. I wholeheartedly thank Mr. Ragesh Raju, Ms. Jacinta, and the entire press and media cell for their help and support. A big thank you to all the attendees for having patience to join us back and for your active participation. Thank you all. Have a good evening.